Cool. All right, everybody. You all are muted. Please make sure that you don't unmute yourself. There will be time later on for question and answers and all of that. We'll let you guys talk. But today we have Jordan, our senior sports and schools manager for Northern Nevada. So for those in Northern California who may not know her, she helps run our sports program and our schools program in Nevada. So today she's going to be doing the make your own tie-dye shirts at home for summer games because we can't be together right now. So she's going to give you some tips on how to create a shirt at home. But so without further ado, here's Jordan. Everybody give her a thumbs up. Give her a thumbs up.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Look at that, Jordan.
Well, I got two from Tyler, so. Awesome. Hey guys, thanks for hopping on. I'm glad to see so many smiling faces. As Harry said, I'm Jordan. I'm up here in Northern Nevada, and today we're going to be going over some tie-dye shirts. If you guys have tried to get tie-dye in the last couple days, it's like sold out at least where I am. It is sold out everywhere, so you might have to order it, but I have options today. So the first one we're going to go over is like traditional tie-dye, and then we've got some Sharpie options, and then I think I had mentioned puff paint in the supplies list too. So if you don't have tie-dye, but you have some puff paint around, you can definitely make some drawings on some shirts. So, and then a question that I want you guys to think about that we'll do at the end of the tie-dye session is we're going to do a would you rather. So be thinking about, would you rather talk to animals or be able to speak any language in the world or all the languages of the world? You don't have to pick one, but all the languages or talk to animals. So be thinking about that, okay? So first one, like I said, we're going to do is regular tie-dye, and we're just going to do kind of a basic swirl pattern. So like I mentioned, you can get tie-dye at the store. I got one that's called, the brand is called Tulip. They have them like this where you can pre-make the packet, or they have these really cool ones where you just buy the little bottle. This one's blue. I don't know if you can really tell. It looks really dark on there. And you just fill it with water and shake it up and it's ready to go. So either one, this one you have to mix and then have your own container to put it in. So these are the two that I saw. There's a lot of different brands out there, so whatever works for you guys. And then you've got, make sure you have lots of rubber bands. Your shirt, make sure you pre-wash it too. If you didn't, I don't think it's the end of the world, but I think it sticks a little bit better and the color comes out a little brighter if you do wash it beforehand. So I did wash this one and dry it, and then a towel to make sure you don't get a mess on your area that you're working with, and then a plastic baggie that we're going to put them in when we're done dyeing them, and then some gloves to make sure that you don't get dye all over your hands. So first thing you're going to do is lay out your shirt in a nice flat, I'm going to move you guys down here so you can see. So you're going to get it in a nice flat area like this. And you're going to pinch it in the very middle of your shirt, and you're going to twist it. It can be clockwise or counterclockwise, but you just kind of want to make a nice flat twist and kind of keep it flat when it like starts bunching up. I guess I'll try to keep the chat open too, so if you guys have questions as I'm going, you can throw them in the chat. All right, and then it gets kind of tricky when you have these outer parts. You just want to kind of keep it nice and flat, squish down on the table, and keep bunching it and swirling it around. Okay. Since you've got it in a nice swirl shape, I'm going to take some rubber bands and stretch it all the way like that. And you can do a lot of these or a little of these. If you have, I'm just going to do blue on this shirt. So you can do, if you have a lot of colors that you want to do, the rubber bands help to block the color from going from one section to the other. So that's a cool way if you're going to do like 4 different colors to kind of build in your sections. You're just going to take as many rubber bands as you want and kind of fold it around them, and then we'll tuck everything in and kind of fix our swirl. So that's what it looks like, should look like when you're done. I don't know if you can see all my rubber bands, but I have kind of an X and then another one in the middle. So I have 3 rubber bands. Then you're going to take these sides that have kind of come out and tuck them in back into your swirl so that you still have a nice like circle pattern in the middle. The bigger the shirt this is, it gets a little bit harder just because there's so much fabric. So you kind of want to make sure you can still see the middle part of your swirl as you're tucking this in. And don't worry about making it perfect. Tie-dye kind of has that messy look anyway. You just kind of want to make sure you got most of it done. Sorry, Amanda, did you say something?
I think Caroline has a question, but I can't unmute you, Caroline.
Hey, Jordan.
Yeah, Caroline.
I have a tank top. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Good question. And you guys can do this with other things too. So like the bigger die that I showed you, if you guys wanted to do like a blanket or something that was like a bigger fabric, this big die makes a lot of color. Whereas this one, I think it said it was good for like 3 projects. So I did a little shirt that I'm going to show you guys in a minute, and it only took that much. So obviously I still have a lot left. We'll see how much I have after. This was an adult large shirt. So we'll see how much we have left. But good question. Tank tops are great, especially now that we're going into summer. All right, so once we have our kind of flat, mushy circle, again, make sure that you can kind of see your swirl as you go through your pattern. And then you're gonna lay out your towel to keep your area nice and clean. And you're gonna get your die ready to go. How do you do it with more than one color? Good question, Kim. So the colors don't mix and match up if you, so like I said, these, I'll show you once I start kind of putting it on. The rubber bands help it from bleeding into the other sections. So you might get like just a little bit of crossover in between the two. But look, once we start kind of putting it on, you'll see, oops. Oh, put your gloves on too, because I forgot to do that. Make sure you put your gloves on before you start touching the dye. Make sure, most of it should wash off, but you might have, I have like a fingernail that's stained a little bit from last night where I didn't have a glove. Okay. So then you have your shirt. I had some dye come on, so be careful when you're opening your dye. If you have one like this, after you shake it, it kind of pops off and you can get, it can splatter everywhere, so just be careful when you're opening it. You're going to take your dye and start pouring it on. And I don't know if you guys can see, I have a little rubber band. Move my computer closer. I have a rubber band right here and a rubber band right here. And it kind of keeps, the rubber band keeps the dye from going into this other section. So you still want to kind of be careful and watch the rubber bands, but it acts as like a little bit of a barrier. So then you're going to go on and make sure that you have a lot of dye covering all of this fabric that's exposed. And then flip it around and do the back side. And you can do them all on one side if you want first and then go to the back, or do it section by section. It's up to you, whatever is easier. But then to answer your question, Kim, on the different colors. So like I said, I'm only doing blue, so I'm gonna alternate and do blue, white, blue, white. But if you had another color, you could do one color here and then the next color here. And like I said, it'll bleed just a little bit, but this section will stay, if you did it yellow, that one would stay yellow and the blue would kind of stay on this one. Sophie asked, what kind of dye do I need? So if you look up on, you can find a tie-dye kit at Walmart or Target. It really, as long as it's okay for tie-dye or fabric dye, it should work pretty well. So this one that I have specifically, the brand is called Tulip. put it right here so you guys can see it. But the brand is called Tulip, and then this one is just a regular fabric dye, and this one was specifically for either one of those would work.
Okay, I got a question. Can you use food coloring?
Can you use food coloring?
Yeah.
I have never done it with food coloring. I would just worry that food coloring would wash out.
Oh, okay.
But that's a good question.
Okay.
Thanks, Tina.
You're welcome. And I have another one too.
Yeah.
Can you use a poster for the tie-dye? Can I put that on my shirt and then tie-dye it or no?
My logo.
My
I'm
logo?
sorry, can you repeat that? Can you put a poster?
Can I put my logo that I made on my poster on my shirt after I tie-dyed or no?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to show you, I have a tie-dyed shirt that I'm going to show you how you can draw on them afterwards,
Oh, okay.
or how to tie-dye with Sharpies too. So we
Okay,
can go over
all
that
right.
too.
Thanks.
Good question. You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right, so then you're just going to go, like I said, I'm doing every other section, blue and white. And you really want to make sure, you got to be careful when you're doing the dye. It kind of runs everywhere. It takes a minute to kind of soak into the fabric. So just make sure you're going kind of slowly with it. And again, make sure you have a towel because otherwise it gets really messy. Can you use any colors on the tie shirt? Yes, you can use any colors you want. Like I said, I like blue, and that was what, luckily they had it in store. They had, I think, a green at my store too. But sometimes you should be able to find kits that have lots of different colors. There's also ones that do like reverse tie-dye that I've seen. You can use it on a black shirt, and it kind of bleaches the shirt to make it like a white almost, or different colors other than the black. So that was kind of cool. I haven't tried that one yet though. Sophie asked for instructions. Sophie, we can mail or post some instructions too, but basically all we did when we started was we swirled up our shirt in a circle pattern, and then you tie it with some rubber bands, and now we're putting our dye on it. So we're on step 3. And I'm almost done with mine, and then we'll go on to the next part. For a black shirt, can I use regular bleach instead of a tie-dye kit? Yes, you can, Kim. I have done that before. It comes out really cool. Depending on the kind of fabric that you use, and obviously I don't think you really know until you tried it, it comes out kind of orange, which looks really cool. And then just make sure, again, with bleach, because it can be kind of dangerous on your hands, you don't want it like soaking into your skin. So definitely make sure that you put on gloves for that, and make sure you cover anything that you don't want to get bleached. But yeah, it's definitely a cool thing to do. All right. So I am just about done with my side. So that took a good amount of dye, and I only did about half the shirt with this color. So this is what mine looks like when I'm done with it. Again, if you look, oh, I'll add some more right here too, just because there's a little bit of white. But when you guys are done with it, we're gonna put it in a bag, and it has to sit for 6 to 8 hours. The sooner you rinse it, the less color it's gonna have. So if you want it to be a lighter blue or whatever color that you have, I would go ahead and rinse it around that 6-hour mark. Otherwise, I'll show you guys one that I did last night, and I left it on for just about 8 hours, and it came out pretty, just a little bit lighter than this color. So again, I did just blue and white. If you, but you can kind of see here, there's a couple of parts where I just wasn't super careful, and I've got a little bit of blue. I think it came off of my gloves. But for the most part, the blue stuck here, and the white is all right here. And I didn't really have to do anything. Like I said, the rubber bands should kind of keep it from bleeding over for you guys. So then what we're gonna do is put it in a baggie. I might need a bigger one. You can also wrap it up in like a saran wrap or cover it with like any kind of plastic, but you just want to keep it nice and damp in there. And then, like I said, let it sit for about 6 to 8 hours. So once you're done and it's waited the full time, you're going to rinse it out with some, it doesn't have to be super cold water, you just don't want really hot water, but you're going to rinse it out, wring it nice and tight like you would a towel, and make sure that all of the dye is out. Once the water is kind of coming through clear, then you can go ahead and stick it in the laundry to get all the rest of that dye out, and put a little bit of laundry soap in there. But don't wash it with anything else for the first couple, because then you might have, like this would dye a lot of my stuff blue probably. So just make sure that you don't rinse it with anything. Kim, it will not stain the sink, so you can rinse it out in any sink. I did it in just my bathroom sink last night, and you can't even tell it was in there. So, and you can hand wash it if that's something you want to do. But like I said, so this is the one I did last night, and it came out pretty dark. It's just a little bit lighter than the actual dye. How it looks on there, this looks pretty black, but in person it doesn't look that dark. So yeah, this came out pretty dark blue, and I washed it in the washing machine after I was done. So yeah, thanks Keiko. I'm glad you guys like it. So like I said, let that sit, then rinse it out. The other thing I'm going to show you guys is if you don't have tie-dye, the next one we're going to do is you can tie-dye with Sharpies. This was something I didn't know until recently, and it came out pretty cool. So if you have regular Sharpies, I have a couple colors. I'm going to use a pink one just to add a little bit of pink to this blue shirt. You guys can't see it, but I doodled like some little hearts, and I'm going to try to like tie-dye the hearts on here. But for this one, what you can do is grab any colored Sharpie, and then you'll need rubbing alcohol with it as well. Question, Kim, do you take the rubber bands off before rinsing? Yes, you do. So good point that I missed that step. Once you're done letting it dry, that's going to be the first thing. And you can either take them off by hand or cut them off with scissors if you're not going to use them again for another project. But you'll take those off and just throw them away. And then you can go ahead and rinse it after that. And like I said, make sure you really are wringing it out. Harry said, yeah, be careful with the rubbing alcohol. Yes, so if you want to use gloves for that one, please do. Be careful you're not spilling it on anything. You're just going to use little drops of it, so we're not going to like be dousing it, but again, make sure you're protecting anything that you have around you. So just because it can rub off like the polish on furnitures. So you just want to be careful with that. So again, let me tilt my screen down. So again, you're going to take your guys' Sharpie. If you have, you can do this on just a regular shirt. It should be dry just so it goes on a little bit better, but you'll just color with your Sharpie. So I'm going to again color some hearts on here. And the other thing that you could do this with is like fabric pens. They do make special ones if you ever are at the craft store and happen to see those. But yeah, this should work with any plain Sharpie too. So once you're done coloring, Kim asked what strength of alcohol? Yes, mine is 70%. I want to say you could do it with any, again, I haven't done this one before, so I'm not sure if it would work with other kinds of rubbing alcohol, but I would say whatever the standard is that you find. Like I just got this at, I think like CVS or the grocery store. It's the grocery store, but okay. So once you have your design on there, the little heart that I tie-dyed or drew on mine, then you're gonna take your rubbing alcohol and just take a couple little drops of it. And if you are nervous about using the drop or this part for the dropper, if you're worried about using too much, you can take like a little, if you have a medicine dropper or something to help you get like a little bit less of an amount. But you just want to get it just a little bit wet. I don't know if you guys can tell how wet that is, but it's pretty like soaked in there, and it's just kind of blending out the lines. I don't know how hard that is to see on there, but it looks pretty cool right here. That it just made it like really blurry. I had kind of like scribble lines on there before, and now it just looks pretty tie-dyed. And then, so then with the next one, I'll try doing 2 different colors so you can see how they'll blend together. But again, you can, this one's kind of cool because you have a little bit more freedom to, if you guys look up different like tie-dye patterns, you guys can do like a heart shirt. I have a hard time tying the shirts that way. So this one just gives you a little bit more ability to draw different things than I think with the tie-dye. So this kind of comes out really cool. And you can do like a lot of different circles or designs or any kind of pattern that you want. Tina had asked about doing a logo or something on here. You could do that with a Sharpie too and not tie-dye it afterwards. That would work. Or you could do it, again, if you found some like fabric markers, that would be a good way to do it too, is to draw on it with that. And then I have puff paint too that we can go over. So then this one, I don't know if you guys can see, I did the pink on the inside and then the yellow, and it's kind of like scribbly. And then again, we're going to carefully with our rubbing alcohol, just get it wet. And it comes out in little drops, but it is, again, it's kind of hard to control it, and it drips a little bit. So just be super careful, like Harry said. And then again, it just kind of blends it together and makes it kind of blurry, which is again that like tie-dye kind of messy look. I used a pen on the inside to draw this. If you did a pencil, I'm sure it would wash off a little bit better. And if you didn't want that like inside line from the pen ink. And then the last one that I should have showed you guys before, doing the tie-dye, because I don't know how, or the alcohol, I don't know how it's going to show up on here now, is puff paint. You can find these at a lot of different craft stores too. I have them in a bunch of different colors, but it comes out like a, almost like a glue, except it's not sticky. I don't know if that makes sense, but they have little squeeze bottles, and you can like write different letters or draw different things with them. So again, Tina, if you wanted to do your logo, some puff paint might be cool. It dries with, it doesn't dry like ink does on here. It's, it kind of dries like glue where it gets a little bit hard, and it's like raised letters, if that makes sense. It's not flat on your shirt, but it's kind of cool if you want just like a little bit of a 3D feel on your shirt. So yeah, that's about it. I'll try to draw on here. I'll do the insides of the hearts and see if that works.
I think Ellen has a question. Ellen? Wait, unmute yourself.
How long have you done the tie-dye?
How long have I done tie-dye?
Yeah.
Yeah, I started in high school. That was like one of the art classes I took, was fabric design. And so that's where I learned to tie-dye. But like I said, I never got good at the different shapes because I have a hard time folding the shirts. So, but I've done it for about, I'd say about 10-ish years, maybe a little over 10 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
It's pretty cool. And like I said, you can do a lot of stuff. You can do like scarves with it. I've seen some pretty cool kits. If you guys like to go to like Michael's or Hobby Lobby, they have some pretty cool kits that you can find for like different, if you like purses or flags or just stuff for around your house. You can do like dishcloths or towels. There's a lot of stuff. I did a pillowcase in high school that I still have, and I take it camping. So you can do a lot of different stuff.
Go ahead, Tina.
Can you use alcohol wipes to control the alcohol or no?
You could try it with alcohol wipes. I think Most of the time with alcohol wipes, they don't get super wet. So this, it's hard to see how wet this is, but you want, I mean, this shirt's pretty damp.
Oh, so
You
I
want
can
to
pour
put a
this
good
on
amount
there?
on here. What's that?
I can pour this alcohol in there? Or
Yeah, just make sure you're being really careful and not, you don't want to like douse it, but you definitely want to get it pretty wet. Like it's got to be pretty damp. And I don't know that an alcohol wipe would get it wet enough.
Okay.
So I just did finish the puff paint, and it's kind of hard to see again. Whoopsies, not in 3D, but it's got just a little bit, it's raised up a little bit from the shirt. So it looks nice and flat, but it's gonna dry, like I said, with kind of a hard texture like glue. But it's really easy to do because it kind of comes out like a pen when you're doing it, and they've got these really nice edges that it's really easy to draw like straight lines or make letters or things that maybe are a little hard to like design with a tie-dye. Sophie asked, do you get the whole shirt wet or only the part where the rubber band bunches are? So when you're tie-dyeing, like when we did this part, you're only gonna get these parts that you're putting the dye on wet. The rest of the shirt, if you're just doing tie-dye, you can do it on a wet shirt. It just might be a little harder to fold it like this. This shirt was dry, and so if you touch these white parts where I didn't put any dye, it would still be dry in there. And then for the, when you're doing the tie-dye with the Sharpie, you don't have to get the whole shirt wet. Again, you should start with a dry shirt for the Sharpie, just because it might, the Sharpie might bleed a little bit more, and you might not get, it might be harder to draw with, but then you only get the part that you're doing the Sharpie on wet. So this part with the heart and this part with the heart, it's wet until about here. And then like this part of the shirt is still dry. And then for this, it said, when I was reading about doing this one, it said you could just dry or let it dry, and then it's okay to wear. Again, alcohol touches your skin, and it is an antiseptic, so I don't think it'd be horrible. I'm gonna wash it just because I don't like the smell. And so it'd probably not be a bad idea to wash it first when you're done. Any other questions?
Jordan, why do we use gloves? Why is it important to use gloves when we're doing with the dye?
Because the dye dyes your skin, and anything else that I have a part on my arm too where it like kind of got off, that's not a bruise, that's dye. So, and it does wash off eventually. So if you get it somewhere on your skin that your glove isn't covering, don't panic, it will wash off. But yeah, other than that, and it's not toxic, but it's just better to wear gloves. And again, the biggest thing is covering your areas because it might not wash out of everything. Sophie asked, how long does it go in the plastic bag? So again, 6 to 8 hours. If you want it lighter, you can take it out at 6 and start washing it. If you want it to be darker, you're gonna wanna leave it in for the full 8. Kim asked, how is tie-dye different than batik? And are they done differently? That's a good question. I feel like batik isn't one that people like actually know. I didn't know about batik until, again, I took that art class in high school. Batik is really cool. You use wax to like draw a design on, and then you use dye like you would with tie-dye, and then you wash it all out and the wax comes off the shirt. So I wouldn't try it at home. You can't do it with like a regular candle. Don't try it. It would really hurt. You have to use some special tools for it, but it is a really cool process if you guys ever get the chance. If you know somebody who knows how to batik, it's a really cool thing to try out. So it is a similar process in that you dye it. The rubber bands in tie-dye almost act like the batiking, where it prevents the dye from going to different places. Sophie, what happened after the alcohol goes in? So after you put in the alcohol, it just kind of blurs it, and then you don't have to do anything else. If you like how it looks, you can leave it like that. You'll let it dry and then just wash it. But you're all done after you do the alcohol part. And you can do different parts of the shirt at different times. It's up to you. If you're doing like a bunch of different stuff and you just want to wait until the end and put alcohol on the whole thing, that works. I just did it one at a time to kind of show you guys how it worked.
I got a question, Jordan. Since it's so hot outside, can you put it outside?
Yeah, you absolutely could to help it dry faster. You're still gonna have to wait if you're doing the tie-dye. It's not necessarily about drying, it's about how long the dye sits in the fabric. So you can put it outside, that's fine, but you're still gonna wanna leave it on 6 to 8 hours. But if you're just talking about drying the alcohol on your shirt, yeah, you could sit it out there, and as soon as it's dry, you can wash it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, good question. Can I dye the shirt and wash it and then dye it again to get different colors? Yeah, absolutely. So that's what I did. You can do it either this way. If you have white parts that you got on, so like I did this shirt kind of the same way. And some of my spiral didn't turn out, so this was like the middle part, and so you can kind of see it. But if you wanted to go back in there with the regular tie-dye and do it again, you absolutely could. Or again, I washed this before I did the Sharpie tie-dye. So you definitely can wash it and then dye it again. Good question, Kim. Any other questions? You guys have a lot of good questions.
We have a lot of athletes that are following along. It looks like Homero is, and Caroline, Sophie,
Nice.
Antina.
Review. Oh, there we go.
Awesome. Yeah, good. Cool, Caroline.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait to see. Everybody's got to wear their shirts now at virtual summer games. I'm going to wear mine one of the days. So yeah, you'll have to, can you do this online? I don't know how you mean, Ronnie. I think you would have to you'd have to get the supplies and do them at home. You can order them online though.
And then, Jordan, how would you do this on a black shirt?
So on a black shirt, you can't use regular tie-dye because it's not going to show up. But I mentioned earlier, they do have specific kits for tie-dyeing black shirts if you wanted to get some color in there. Or one of the things that you could do, somebody asked about bleach. So if you have like a bleach pen that you get at like the grocery store or Target or wherever it's easier to draw on, I wouldn't do it with like a bucket of bleach, but you can get a bleach pen in the laundry section, draw your design on, and then you let it sit. I would probably, with bleach, it's just a little hard to tell like a specific time frame. You can see the color changing. If you wash it out too early, it's going to be really orange. If you want that color, you can wash it out early. But with bleach, you just kind of have to keep checking on your shirt until it looks like it's about the right color. If you want it whiter, you're going to leave it on for a little bit longer, and then you'll just same thing, rinse it out, and then you can throw it in the washer after you're done like rinsing all the bleach off.
Okay. Thanks, Jordan. A lot of good questions.
Yeah.
Do you use a black Sharpie? I guess when you draw on it?
You can use a black Sharpie. I didn't, this black part that I showed you guys, that's black puff paint. But same thing, if you guys wanted to use a black Sharpie, again, it'll just look kind of fuzzy like this when you're done, and it'll be blurry, whatever design you draw on it. But yeah, you can use any color Sharpie you want. Okay. And then if you guys wanted to do, again, if you want to like make a Summer Games logo or write virtual Summer Games on your shirt if you're going to be competing in it, but you don't want that part to be blurry, just wait until your whole shirt is dry and make sure that Sharpie is the last part that you do.